Kel. I'm working on getting this last minute stuff. Okay, that's how that is. We're gonna wait a few minutes here, let some people come in, okay? I'm not anticipating a real lot, just a handful, so that's good. All right, so. How's everyone doing today so far? It's a hot one here in Chicago. Hot. Had to turn the air down more than it already was. You guys know me, I sweat my butt off. Sweat my butt off. Okay. Hey, Karma. Okay, awesome. Hey, Kel, I'm going to make you a moderator. Don't worry about doing anything this time. I'm just letting you know I'm going to make you a moderator. You don't have to do anything. I'm just going to do that. We'll talk about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You don't have to do anything. But I am going to make you a moderator. I'll do it later. Okay, guys. Everybody, welcome. Like I said, I'm anticipating a very small group today. I did this on a Wednesday for reasons that I think all of you that'll be here, you guys all know. And this will be awesome. You guys will like this a lot. Thank you for all those gifts, Kelly. You cheeky monkey. We'll wait 5 minutes, guys. Okay. So if anybody that's just coming in, if you guys haven't been to one of my classes before, what I do is I posted a TikTok last night with resources to reference back to during this class, so I have less to do with my hands. So if you haven't already, I highly recommend it'll just help you. For the sake of this, I'm going to give a lot of details, and having the references already in front of you kind of takes some of the pressure of wanting to get it all down, write all the details down as I say it. So if you go to that TikTok, it'll say resources class for June 11th. And save it to your phone or whatever so that you can go back and look at it. It'll make things a lot easier for you to follow along. Okay? Yeah, okay, cool. All right. I'm just going to wait a couple more minutes, guys, and it's a Wednesday, so there's only a handful of people coming, and then we'll go ahead and get started. I think you guys are going to like this one. Okay. Volume on this isn't working. Also, guys, I've had a lot of problems this morning with electronics. So if something happens where I get disconnected or whatever that is, I'll reach out to you guys and let you know how to get the rest of the information, okay? Because it's at some point I gotta be like, I mean, I've wrestled with it all morning, same old stuff. Just so you guys know. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to do a brief introduction here of what we're doing so that anybody that hasn't been here before. My name is John Michael. I started doing I consider myself a starseed / light worker, like probably everybody in here. And if you're here, you've probably seen my TikToks and my videos and stuff like that. So back in 2023, we did these live classes regularly for months and months and months. There was a good number of people that ended up coming in here, and we, and my phone's doing something crazy. I stopped because magic was starting to get heavily applied, and people that were coming in regularly were starting to have magic directed towards them to make them believe that I was doing it to them. And you guys know how this works, okay? So right off the bat, I've put protection over this live so that that will not happen. Just know that when we're getting into talking about this, they don't like us talking about magic in any way, shape, or form. So I'm throwing that out there right now as proceed as you see fit. Okay. Having said that, we are going to go ahead and get started. So today, what we're going to do is the title of this class is "What Are My Magic Abilities?" You guys have seen me a million times talk about getting superpowers, right? And as this ascension process continues, while we're all experiencing a bunch of magic directed against us, we've had to go through the crash course on an individual basis to learn how to protect ourselves, right? And so that's what this is really all about. I want to make very clear, I'm not teaching anybody how to do magic against anybody today. That's not what this is, okay? The difference between the parasites that use dark magic against anyone else for power, right, to control them, is that we identify power. We're not I am in no way interested in recognizing what inherent powers I have in me to use against anybody. It's to enhance who I am. Okay, so ultimately, this magic that I'm teaching today is about identifying power for yourself. To do what? To figure out what your truth is. All right, and I'm going to define the word truth as something subjective. Everyone thinks that truth is objective. That's because they've trained us to look on the outside of us and say, okay, this is the way it is, so this is what the truth is. And they base it on information. All right? Outside of us is the collective average of all of our subjective inner truths. So moving along in this class and in all others you'll ever see from me, when I talk about your truth, I'm talking about what makes you happy. You and you alone. The way you like to be happy. How you like to get there. All of the details and all of your desires that make you happy in a way that is positive for you and positive for the environment around you. Doesn't matter how much or how little. When I talk about your truth, I'm talking about your ultimate happiness. That's what I'm teaching magic about. Okay? The magic that I'm teaching is how to use existing systems for your own happiness. Because if you're happy and you are living your truth, that's what activates this magic, and it works on a completely different system than what we see. So I want to be clear on that, okay? Because it took me a long time to get comfortable with magic, and I don't want to mess around with that stuff. It's raw power, all right? And it's a lot easier than you think if you focus on your own truth, what makes you happy, all right? So having said that, basic expectations for this class, okay? Independent study of a lot of the stuff we talk about will be required if you really want to get down into this, all right? Today, I'm going to use the Elder Futhark runes, and that's going to be kind of the foundation of how I teach this, because it's an established system that you can understand how the system outside of us works, all right? You have to understand how the system outside works in order to block what's being fired at you. So when you do that from the inside out, then you can create your happiness from the inside out. And when that happens, now you have a different outer reality that you're living from the inside, and it will start spreading like fire. to other people, like this group that's in here today. All right, and eventually, over time, it will change the entire environment, but it takes the spark to get the fire going, and that's what this is about today, okay? So these classes, when I talk about runes, if you're not familiar with runes and you want to understand what it is I'm talking about, there will be classes where we take deep dives into the 3 different families of runes, the 3 Ets, okay? There's 24 runes that I'm going to be using, the Elder Futhark. What there is, though, is that there is, if you go to your, the resources, if you go to page 3 and 4 of your resources, okay, I have put a list of the runes that we're going to be using, numbered 1 through 24, the Elder form of the Elder Futhark, and this also, page 3 and 4 has a really, really nice example of why I picked runes when all these magical systems are available, right? Why am I not using astrology signs or planetary symbols or Egyptian mythology or Greek mythology or any culture, right? Guys, it's all the same system. I'll show you exactly how they connect to each other and then how they all became their own identity and made their own distortions to make themselves happy, okay? But it's the same thing. The reason why I picked the runes, because number one, I have a very strong draw to it. It's something that's in my DNA. It's my heritage, my culture, okay? But I also, more than that, I have the strongest desire ever to want to learn about it. And then they started popping up, but we'll talk about that on what I mean by that. So that's one of the reasons I use runes. I'm getting ahead of myself, though, first of all. So first of all, there's going to be independent study. I'll also, one thing I forgot to put in the resources is a list of books that I've learned from. I'll provide that afterwards. So just know that this isn't going to be a spoon feeding, at all the details, okay? I'll answer questions at the end, but know that there's going to be independent study that's required of you if you want to do this, because that's kind of how this all works, okay? Also, this is free information that I'm giving, all right? I am going to offer additional services for individual and specialized application of your own personal energies, your own inherent superpowers, all right? If you want additional information and for me to specialize it to you, I will talk about that towards the end, because I'm going to start offering services that there will be a cost for. But anybody can watch this, anybody can do even the stuff that I'm going to do for a service on their own. It's just a matter of, do you want my input and do you want my guidance and help, okay? So that's my declaration of this is free information and anybody can take it or leave it as they see fit. So the bottom line is that all magical processes, all magical steps, right, all magical ways, they're invisible. We can't perceive it that going on, right? It's like the manifestation process. We know kind of what the steps are, but we can't perceive the steps between the initial impulse of wanting something and then the manifestation of it in the real world so that we can interact with it, right? What I'm teaching today, okay, is how you are able to build a foundation so that you can start to perceive those magical steps all the way in between. Because these parasites that use dark magic against people that are siphoning our life force so that they can live forever and while we stay immortal, they can do that too, okay? But the way that we do it, since we have our own souls and we tap into natural magic versus artificially formed magic, it works a little bit different, all right? And it's good news for us because it's a lot more straightforward and easy. So bottom line is that the way it works is that it's all kinds of magic are built on the same foundation. And the foundation that you need to have firmly in place is your belief, all right? So think of it this way. Right now, the structure of our reality, all right? One of the terms that you're going to hear me use a lot is your consciousness, okay? Know that when I talk about consciousness, I'm referring to the same idea as your auric field, okay? Consciousness, auric field, and also your personal reality, okay? It's the area right outside of you that comes directly from the inside. your personal space, your subjective universe, right? This, once you live what you're thinking and desire on the inside, on the outside consistently, right? Consistently performing the thoughts and emotions, bind it into an intention, then you move it from the inside world by speaking it and acting on it, depending on what it is. That consistency, based on different beliefs, is how you'll be able to perceive the magic. Right now, we can't perceive that magic, and that's because our beliefs are on the wrong foundation. You could think of right now as we're all starting out, if this is a house, right? If this is a house that contains everything within us, the energy, our auric field, you could think that we're in a straw house, right? Like the Three Little Pigs. But once you start to have new information that you resonate with, you understand that information, and that knowledge turns into wisdom. Information, right, which is the same thing as the water elemental force. Now, these are forces, okay, invisible forces. Water is information, and that information, you could think of it as hollow tubes, are what creates the structure of our house, the structure of our consciousness. And once you have the right structure, you can run energy through it. The energy is your emotions, right? And that's the fire, all right? So what I'm saying is that the right information and knowledge that is anchored as wisdom, that you turn into belief by consistently speaking and doing it because you believe in it, right? And if it doesn't exist, you believe in it. It's what you desire to see outside of the world, because it's what you desire to see for yourself. That will change that understood wisdom into a belief. And then the straw house comes down. That's why on the class advertisement for today, you saw a dead tree, right, start out, and then it started on fire. You light that straw house on fire, and because you have a new foundation now. And this foundation is made of bricks, okay? Brick house that is impenetrable. That's exactly what it takes to be able to perceive magic, these magical steps from point A to point Z, which is manifestation into the real world. And I can tell you that because I've done it. Okay? I said it. I'm going to teach you how to perceive it because I have done it. There's still more that I have to do, but I'm sharing it with you as we go. I'm still learning. It's not going to be perfect. If you consider what I'm saying and you believe it, right, all as it resonates, this is what has worked for me. So I'm sharing with you guys, okay? All right, so this class is going to be how you take real steps in real life, okay? Not just ideas. Before when I taught about runes, it was, you get the ideas, it was information, it was taking the different pieces of a tubing and trying to see what fits where, kind of like Lego pieces, right? We're done with that now. You're still going to get the information too, but once I give you the information, and some of the information you'll have to learn on your own, all right? And the reason why I do that, I don't teach it all, is because the way I teach it has a reflection of how I did it in you. You guys have to do it for yourselves because that's the only way for you to make it really your truth based on your happiness, okay? So it's not to make things harder, it's to make things more specific for you so that you can find your ultimate truth, your ultimate happiness, okay? But it's how to take real steps, how to take action to recreate your reality, your consciousness, the structure of your auric field, your tree of life, okay, into what it should be. Okay, so if you're talking about tree of life, you want to transform it into the Cathara grid. All right, we're going to use the system of Norse mythology where the tree of life is called Yggdrasil, and the reason why is because the runes have much less distortion in them, in my opinion. Okay, it allows me to teach it much more straightforward. But then these pages 3 and 4, you can see that every rune has a direct correlation with an astrology sign or a planetary symbol. So no matter what, or no matter what type of natural magic you may or may not be interested in, or you may be familiar with or used yourself, you could see there a connection to different types of trees, different types of herbs, different gods, goddesses, okay? Even colors, all right? tarot cards. We'll talk about tarot and why runes are more specific than tarot. All these different things are provided on page 3 and 4, okay? That's for everybody to see. Okay, yeah, there is a real connection here because it's all about what you're familiar with. You don't have to use runes. This is just a starting point to get you to where you're already at so that you can take these real steps if you see fit, okay? So, so that's what we're here to do. Take real steps with the correct knowledge that once you understand, it becomes wisdom, and when you act on that wisdom consistently, it recreates your foundation into, the wisdom turns into a belief, okay? And it takes regular consistency. This is how literally how you transform yourself from the inside out. It's all about information. That's why people lie so much. It's all controlled through information. The magic itself is sent by information. We're going to get into all that, okay? Because it ties in with the elemental forces and all that good stuff. So that's what we're going to be doing in this class. Again, if you don't have the TikTok that I put up last night of the resources for this class, it is available. I highly recommend you have it as a reference for this class because it will answer a lot of questions that because I'm not looking at the comments that often, okay? So the resources are there. It should be referenced during class, okay? That's what they're there for. So the correct steps for every single one of you is not going to be exactly the same as it was for me, because what makes you ultimately happy is going to be different in some way, shape, or form. But what brings us together here to learn this stuff is that at our core, we're all part of the same mission, which is service to others after we have healthy boundaries in place and know how to make ourselves happy, right? In order to make others happy. We focus on ourselves first in order to make others happy, okay? That's why in order to ascend, you only need to be 50% service to others. Because before you give any service to others, you have to be service to yourself, okay? That's why in the airplane, if the masks come down in the airplane, they tell mom and dad, put your mask on first, because the kid is not going to be any good if you put the mask on them first and you pass out, right? Same idea. So that's how this is going to go. So the actions and the correct steps is going to be different for each one of you because each one of you has a different truth, right? What makes you ultimately happy. Having said that, we good to go? We ready to go? Okay. So let's talk for a second now just about the word truth again. I'm going to repeat this for anybody new that came in. When I talk about everybody's individual truth, I'm talking about what subjectively makes you happy, okay? What subjectively makes you happy, what your truth is today, might be different than what it was yesterday because you are always gaining new information and slightly adjusting your belief system, right? It could be, this happened to me and I'm angry at this person now. It changes a little bit, right? It's going to change every single day. That's why we do this big picture. I give you kind of the structure, and then you take it and do with it as you see fit. But this is going to be these. I'm going to shoot to do these classes twice a week, every week. We may do more than that because there's just an unlimited amount of things to talk about, and you guys are going to hopefully like this. Okay, but we're going to talk now about something that has been really, fear is used to control us, right? They put fear into all the information. And the fear that they put in to prevent us from exploring our own personal truth, right? Our own personal happiness. They made a word that is at the core of all magic. All magic focuses on one single idea of everybody. They target your desires. Think of desire. When I hear desire, I think of immediately moves towards like sexy stuff, right? Stuff where, oh, this will make you feel good, but no, that's not good. Bullshit. If it makes you happy and it doesn't hurt you and it doesn't hurt anybody else, there is no limits to what your happiness can or cannot be. Let me say that again. Your desires and what you choose to do with them become your truth is directly connected to what you desire. What do you desire? You desire what's going to make you happy, right? Now we have to adjust it, but like I just said, we adjust those things every day. to interact with the outside world from the inside world, right? Your desires, why do you have the desires that you have? Do you ever think about that? Why do you desire the things that you desire? Why do you have an interest or a curiosity or a pull towards wanting? It's because what's gonna make you happy. All right. Why does it make you happy? Because that's how your DNA is wired. It's literally in your DNA. Your desires were not put in you in order for you to have to fight them and deny yourself happiness. They were put there to guide you to happiness, because that's what we're supposed to experience in this life and all lives. And that's what this magic is about, okay? So, okay, now we got that, right? How do we even start to approach the idea of really exploring our true inner desires, right? your truth that makes you happy. Excuse me, guys. We answer one very simple question that I had whole classes on a couple years ago. Who am I? Now, this is real easy. It just sometimes gets uncomfortable for us because we've been taught to be comfortable or uncomfortable based on rules from the outside, okay? I'll tell you right now, the people that do dark magic against people like us, there are no rules. You'll hear them say it all the time. They don't get governed by any rules from the outside. They do whatever they want. They do whatever makes them feel good. Trust and believe that's the case. However, they're governed by a whole new set of rules, and when they get over there, they find out it's the grass wasn't green on the other side at all. We'll talk about that later on. Who am I? Okay, what is my truth? All right, there's one very common way that people refer back to as a tool, right? About this is who I am, specifically with details, and that's called your natal chart. Your natal chart is where all of the planets and stars were in the sky the moment you were born, right? So if your date of birth, your location of your birth, and the time of your birth, right? The time is important because it identifies your rising sign. People, whether or not you believe in that or interested in that, what that represents is if your auric field, right? If your consciousness is like a glass dome, right? And it's spinning, just like all the wheels spin up there, and every layer of your subtle body is spinning. The moment you're born, it gets frozen, so that you are seeing out of a window. For me, my sun is in Virgo. I am Gemini rising, and I have Gemini moon. That's how I see outside of my window. And what I see from my angle and colors and all that is going to be different than somebody that has a sun in Leo with Libra rising, for example. You see what I mean? So you can think of it as how your auric field or consciousness is glued or fixed onto you. And I think everybody would agree at some level, it's usually pretty spot on, right? And you could read a sun sign and it's, well, maybe kind of, but you have to take everything into account. They're all parts of you. But here's the interesting part. Okay. I'm going to leave that right there. So, because it's so well known, right, your natal chart, astrology, when we talk about different types of energy, okay, energy that locks together, you can lock two different types of energy or power sources together when you cross them at 90-degree angle, okay? That's going to be something foundational to remember always when we talk about this. Your natal chart, okay, time and place where you're born, can be thought of as a combination of the electric and the magnetic forces, okay? Because you can see it. You can observe who you are. You can observe all of these different traits or qualities that is in the natal chart, right? But what they don't ever taught us, I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in microbiology from University of Illinois, all right? I had to take I'd take physical biochemistry, brutal, all right? I never learned this in college, okay? That's no mistake, because this quadrant up here is what we can see and observe with our senses. Turns out there's 3 more quadrants, right? Here's quadrant 1, but then there's 2, 3, and 4. Everyone's familiar with this from algebra and all that mess. I hated math. So what are these? This is called dielectric. This is called diamagnetic. Here's the difference. This is the invisible stuff that we can't see, that people that do magic can't, all right? People that do dark magic. Diamagnetic, if magnetism, right, the law of attraction, we bring it to us, that's natural magic. If magnetism is attraction, diamagnetism is repulsion. You force it onto somebody and they don't have a choice, all right, because they use what you desire. Your magnetism. Boom. Dielectric is an electric force. Electric goes from to something. Dielectric comes to you. So dielectric is the same idea as magnetism, and diamagnetism is a force like electricity, okay? So if this right here is your natal chart, right, then what is this? That is your name. If anybody has ever heard of, and I'm not talking about actual soul contracts, I'm talking about, it's an exercise called soul contracts. They take your name and they convert it to Hebrew letters. Hebrew letters are another magical system that can be correlated directly with runes, okay? But the idea is your name, if you've ever had a soul contract done or looked up your name even in gematria, right? There's some scary on-point things, like so on point that it like borders along the same type of specificity that a natal chart does. And the more detailed you get, the more dead on it is, right? So what I'm saying is this. They want us to know this, and they let us know about this. But this is only 1/4 of the full picture. This magic that we're going to start learning today brings this to light, okay? Does that mean I'm going to teach you how to do your soul contract so that you can convert to Hebrew letters? No. I have an even better way for you to understand and focusing on what your truths are and your desires. What if there was a way to connect all of this in one exercise? Guess what? There is, and that's what we're doing today. When you take your date of birth and you take your birth name, full birth name. My birth name is the same as it is now, John Michael Sabo, okay? There is a way to calculate what inherent superpowers you are born with, all right? Everybody from this calculation, there are 3 runes, okay? Not necessarily 3 runes because you could have the same rune in multiple spots. There are 3 different areas, and runes are assigned to them because what runes are forces, right? They're some type of power that can be applied in a certain way, right? And they directly align with what you desire and what makes you happy. It starts to tell you how you can be happy. Ways to do it, ways that you have to watch out because they also include duality, which is awesome, right? Every single rune has what's called a bright stave or a murk stave, okay? The good and bad aspects. But you'll start to see as we get into it, there is no good, there is no bad. Those dual qualities disappear because it's all situational when you turn objective truth into subjective truth, because it depends on who is there, what the situation is, what just happened before. You see what I'm saying? And so it gives you it empowers you in a way that is unbelievable. Now before and so what this is called, these 3 runes, it's called, you'll hear me refer to it as IRC, Individual Runic Code. IRC, Individual Runic Code. Everybody has 3 runes that are established to them. The rune of essence or your destiny, that's what you come in with from previous lives. That's what you're already an expert at, okay? That's one of your most important runes, your very first rune, your rune of essence. Okay, you came here to use that in order to achieve what your second rune is, your rune of identity or your personal rune. This is what you are here to learn in this lifetime for yourself or to teach others, depending on who you are, by exhibiting and executing the power of the first rune of essence, who you are, okay? Once you have done that, that's what this process is like right now, okay? It's taking your first rune and applying it actively so that it changes the foundation of your belief system, all right? Once you do that and you achieve the forces of your second rune by doing it in real life, really in real life, it unlocks your third rune, your golden rune. And that gives you access to power that you are meant to use your first and second rune in order to leave your mark on the world, all right? This is what you are here to do. This is the service to others part, all right? So another reason I love runes is because it focuses heavily on, here's what you're an expert at already. Here are your strengths. Now, use your strengths to do some of this, your second rune. Once you do that, now you know how to take care of yourself. Here's the third rune. Go nuts. Now you can do service to others in a real way, using your own magical superpowers, all right? And now let me pull it back into reality here for 1 second, because let's talk about this superpowers thing, okay? What are superpowers? Like literally, like if like, and yes, I am talking about becoming a superhero that have superpowers, supernatural abilities, spiritual abilities, whatever you want to call it, right? All right, how the hell do we get there, John? For real? Yes, for real. Here's something that makes it a lot easier for everybody to understand in a real way that you've already experienced, right? Everybody in here, more likely than not, has had a job in your life, right? We work for a living. That's how Earth works. All right. One of the things that I was a huge fan of when I was a manager, and it looks like I forgot to put it in here. Darn it. It's okay. Was the first time I was a manager, the company that I was with was everyone was miserable because they focused on pointing out everybody's weaknesses and vulnerabilities, right? Areas where they had to improve, and it was people coming in, out, getting hired, fired. It was ridiculous. I was like, why are we focusing on this? We could focus on this all day, or we could focus on what everybody's inherently good at, right? So call me crazy, but you could fire me if you want to. This is how I'm managing because number one, I think it's the right thing to do for everybody. That's how I do it for me, okay? Guess what? The region that I had, we were ranked 14 out of 15. It never got above 14 out of 15 in the whole company. After the first year, number one. I got moved. I had to start my own team. I hired 12 reps on my own. We started out, and I got a huge region. It was 1/5 of the United States. We started out ranked 5 out of 5. I brought that to number 1 too, okay? I did it using an existing system called Strengths Finder. Okay, Gallup has strength finders. There's all different kinds of these things where it's kind of like a measure of your personality or something like that, these personality identifiers, right? They've got some really cool ones out there now. It's all the same idea. Focus on your strengths. When you focus on what you start out with, sky's the limit. Because, like I said in the beginning, it's always changing a little bit. And once you're really good at something, you start to explore. These 3 runes, this is just where you start. This is just where you start. It does not define you, and this is who you are, and this is the kind of superhero you can be, take it or leave it. No, hell no. This is just where you start. And where we need to start before we become superheroes with magical powers, we start at understanding the knowledge, turning it into wisdom, and then acting on that wisdom in order to make it a belief. Okay, moving from our first rune of essence into our second rune of individuality. How's everybody doing with this so far? Are we liking this? I see a yes. Hey, Divine Gray. Sup, girl? All right, good. I'm going to assume that we're good to go. So, the combination of a natal chart, the electric and magnetic forces that you're born with, right? Plus the invisible dielectric, diamagnetic forces that no one talks about and that they keep secret of your name. This is why I've made videos, TikTok videos about your name. There's so much power in your name, it's crazy. And that's why these parasites copy names of gods and goddesses and then distort it from there, because there's power in a name, right? Those two things together, this whole thing, your full being, what you came here with and what you have right now can be represented by your IRC, individual runic code, 3 runes. Okay? Everybody like what we're hearing so far? Can you guys respond to me real quick if we're good to go? Yes. Awesome. Hey, Heather. Karma. Yes. Okay, thanks, guys. Okay, yes, this is amazing. Divine Grail. Okay, awesome. All right, guys. So, here we go. So, I already talked about starseeds are real people, Gallup Strength Finders. So, yeah, so guys, the idea of magic, we do it all day, every day. It's part of the natural process. It's just natural magic that we can't perceive because we're being prevented from perceiving it because people are actively and secretly doing it behind closed doors. And I know how to spot them, and I know how they do it, and they're going to be dealt with individually and collectively. But for right now, I want everybody to understand how to do it for yourself if you see fit. Because here's mark my words. There's going to be someone that figures out how to do it first. There's going to be someone that figures out how to do it first, okay? While I do believe that there are people that are chosen or, starseeds or anything like that, right? I really have a hard time when someone toots around, says that I'm chosen, or this is who I am, and uses names and stuff, but then has nothing to show for it. They focus on an idea of power, and they think that, just because I can do and say this. No, that makes my skin crawl. That infuriates me beyond anything because that is a person that has a huge potential that is falling back into the system that we're trying to get out of. That's no good. It's all about what you do, saying what you do and doing what you say. Otherwise, none of that means shit. Okay? That's my opinion, and that's what you guys can expect from me. So, focus on your strengths. Focus on your 3 runes. Rebuild your foundation. Then you can perceive magic and continue to use alchemy in real life, in real ways, just by doing your daily stuff. That's the other thing. You guys all these things where I say take action in real life, you don't have to do any magic, anything. It's how you think and feel, and then how you speak those thoughts and feelings, those intentions, and how you act on them. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about lighting up a cauldron and doing stuff like that. You can do that. It's all great. But what is that? It's words and actions. Okay? You do magic every day. And so when I say act on this information so it becomes a belief, that's all it is. It's incorporating this information that you resonate with and acting on it on a daily basis with yourself and others, right, is what turns it into a belief system and changes your energetic structure. So understand that all of this magic that I'm teaching isn't anything crazy new unless you want it to be. It's what you're already doing. It's just thinking about it in a different way, consciously, and owning it. That's it. So this becomes amazing real quick, okay? All right, so your IRC, your individual runic code, 3 runes that are assigned to you, those are your strengths. Those are your inherent superpowers that you have right now. You just need to build the right house around them so that they can mature and you can move them into the outside world. They can be reflected to your outer world from your inner world, all right? So, having said that, give me 1 second. I got to turn this fan off because my little guys are cold. So, one more little bit of information that is important to me because there's all kinds of people that teach out there, right? So why listen to me? I'm friends with a lot of you guys, right? But if you don't know me and you just see me or whatever, why listen to me? What makes what I say different than anybody else or any other source of information? Legit, okay? And I'm being totally serious. This is how I apply this understanding to everything, no matter who it comes from. And I'm inviting you to apply it to me as the same way you apply it to any other source of information, right? Everything that I'm going to teach you today, everything, is not based on something just because I think it's cool or because I like it or because I think it's good or even that it worked for me. Well, it is because it worked for me, okay? Everything that I teach is based on direct observation. It's based on something that actually happened in real life, okay? It's not just based on someone told me this or I read this from a book. Okay, we're reading it from a book. That's how we get stuck in this, right? I will only teach you what I have directly observed in any kind of, any way, shape, or form. Why is that important, okay? That is the only way for you to identify what objective truth is. Now again, objective truth, the way you see it's going to be a little bit different than how I see it or anyone else because of your experiences, right? It gets filtered, right? How do you know any information is legit? There's no way to know, you guys. There's no way to know. So then what do? You focus on what you're attracted to. Does it align with your desire? Does this make you excited, happy? If the answer is yes, then you take it a step further. All right, I'm interested, you have my ears, right? Everybody that teaches magic from a book or this or this or this, right? There are parasites actively out there teaching you the wrong stuff to try to get you to become one of them. They give you a little taste of it and they give a little bit more, and then they got you. And then you have to do what they say, all right? So what's the difference with me? Direct observation. Is there a pattern to what they're saying? Is what they say and what they do the same thing? Okay, does it change courses? Does it and you'll see that information shifts all the time. They bank on their ability to make you scared or to change your attention or whatever, all right? So everything that I teach will be direct observation. Okay, direct observation, okay, so let's talk about that. My degrees were in microbiology, right? My thesis for my master's degree was codon usage of Methanobacterium versus Methanococcus yanaceae. That doesn't matter. What I did was I wrote computer programs that would identify areas in genes and proteins that I would use to create evolutionary trees to find out how everything was connected. In order to do that, you have to find something that does not change, that does not mutate, right? Because the places that do not mutate are the ones that are required for life. So ribosomal RNA can never have mutations in it, because if it has a mutation in it, it can't form proteins and you don't have life. So mutation equals death, right? So you always focus on those parts of the process that need to be there, otherwise the whole system falls down, all right? That allowed me then to be like, okay, so that means all these other things can be changed a little bit with lies or with misinformation, right? In order for the person that's saying it to become happy because they're on a power trip. So bottom line is I was trained professionally in school to extract truths. No one's going to tell us what evolutionary trees are of a bunch of bacteria. So how do we figure it out? You figure it out by direct observation using an understanding of how things work. Same as we're doing here, okay? Then when I graduated, I've been in pharmaceuticals sales for 20 years, right? They teach you how to do everything. They teach you what to say to a doctor, how to respond. I knew damn well after day one of being in front of doctors, those doctors were lying to my face just to have a nice interaction, and then they do what they want when I leave. I had to learn real quick. I can't listen to what the doctor says. I have to listen to what the doctor says in conjunction with what the doctor does. And I started identifying patterns that more accurately reflected and predicted what that doctor was going to do versus what the doctor is telling me. And those direct observations allowed me to change what I said and what I did to understand what the doctor really meant, so I could give the doctor the information that he or she saw fit, and that changed their behavior. And yeah, and I won all the awards and blah, 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 blah. So what I'm saying is that is what I pride myself on. That's what makes me different as somebody, as a source of information. I'm never going to tell you this is how it is and period. No, never. It's going to be individual for everybody. I will always only use my direct observations because that's the only real thing that I can give you as an example that is matter of fact. But it's matter of fact for me. Doesn't mean it's going to be matter of fact for you. But do I feel confident to be able to give a potential structure for people to follow and fill in on their own? Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what I'm doing here today. And to triple down on that claim, I started my awakening in 2018, all right? My awakening didn't go straight to magic. It started out with me studying quantum physics because that's the kind of nerd I am. I love learning, all right? Quantum physics led to a vortex mechanics that led to cavity resonance structure, and sooner or later, it pointed me directly to magic. And I understood this is how the world really works. But no one knows it because no one sits and takes the time to do this because no one's gonna help them. No one helped me. I have to do it myself. Cool, I got it. So with that starting in 2018, I started learning how to shift through all the lies. And I was like, everything is a lie so bad. I did not make my first TikTok with information until 2023. Okay, that was the commitment I have to this process because it's the only way to get stuff done, all right? That combined with my desire and my ability to teach using my own personal experiences, my own direct observations as a potential, one way to do it is what makes me different, okay? Then I took it an extra step, and in August of 2023, I quit my career of 20 years. It was the best job I ever had. I had a new Tesla as a company car coming, okay? I did well. I quit. And I haven't worked any job the entire time because I dedicated 100% of my day and nights to this. I've dedicated my life to this. So having said that, that's what makes me different than other sources of information, okay? What I'm saying is not right for everybody. It's what was right for me. I will provide a way for you to take it and make it your own if you so see fit. Having said that, any questions before we get started on the actual runes? Cool. Okay, so why runes? We talked about this a little bit. So the first thing that drew me to runes was my desire to learn from it. I don't know why, there was something about them I just wanted. So paying attention to your desire, don't make it fit, all right? If you do natural magic that is more based on plants and herbs, stay that way. I will be able to get you there from runes. Literally, this is not about changing anything. It's just about understanding the big picture of what runes do and the forces that they are that connects into what you already know how to do, okay? The only place it'll be, where it'll be specific is your 3 runes, all right? You do your magic your own way. That's what this is all about. I just use runes because that's how I learned, and I think they're awesome. And I think you guys will like them too. All right? Also, runes connect to all other systems of magic. No matter what the culture, no matter what the source, no matter light or dark, there is a way to connect into everything. It connects into other alphabets, letters, connects into numerology, everything, okay, directly. And I'm gonna teach you how. The way that they're able to distort everything so much and get away with it is through a concept called morphic resonance. Morphic resonance is the idea that no matter how different two things are, you can exchange energy, which is the elemental fire force, and or information, which is the elemental water force, if there is one point of similarity, just one, it's enough to create a resonance to have an exchange, all right? Think about it this way. Do you ever meet a person that you've been friends with forever? It's one of the people that you love most on this earth, right? But when you first met them, there was a period of time where you didn't like them, and maybe they didn't like you. And it continued on until you guys both found out that you guys love Justin Timberlake, for example. Boop! And it changed your attitude and the way you looked at that person almost immediately, right? And now they're one of your best friends, and you think back of that, oh my gosh, that was crazy. Do you see how quickly your beliefs can change? Magic's the same way, all right? And the way they distort with morphic resonance, we're taking that same concept and making it our own, because you can do that. It's universal law, okay? And it's the natural way to do that. So that's another reason why runes. Number 3, and this is awesome. This is what I love most. I was really big in my early part of my awakening, where when I realized I started to see like real differences in terms of how energetic structures of our consciousness was changed from the tree of life over to the Cathara grid, right? The Tree of Life has 10 centers of energy, Cathara grid has 12, and the details go from there, right? Tree of Life is the same thing as the Yggdrasil tree. So that's all great, and we understand what we need to, what was taken out, but now how do we get there? We got to start with where we're at, all right? What's awesome about runes is that the shapes, the angles of the lines, the structure of the individual runes themselves, when you take the runes and you piece them back together the way that they were originally together, it literally makes the Cathara grid. And oh, hang on, it's saying that this is going to end in 5 minutes. Oh, we're good, okay. It literally makes the Cathara grid. Angles, everything. I'm really big into details, okay? Heavy attention to detail. It makes the Cathara grid. That for me was thumbs up. Not only that, but I have a very strong belief based on direct observations that at least in part, a lot of these symbols and ideas that are used for magic, both natural and dark magic, right, came from some of the existing symbols and ideas that came from the land of Mu, right, Lemuria. Lemuria was kind of the counterpart, the magnetic counterpart to the electric Atlantis, and Atlantis is where it all went, power hungry, and it went downhill, right? So the rules and the symbols and things from Mu or Lemuria is directly represented by the runes. If you go to your handout, the resources, I put in these resources, I have a number of books, of Mu books, and the reason I put them in here is so that you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so these Mu books that I have they're not sold anymore. I had to order it from a private collector. So if you look at page 10, this is one of the books that I'm taking these examples from, the Sacred Symbols of Mu. And on page 11 and 12, it has the 8 steps, the 8 different steps that they turned into 7, right? 7 chakras, 7 continents, 7 colors in the rainbow, 7 everything, because the 8th one is what makes a full octave. Just like electrons in the outer shell. You need 8 for it to not react, right? How many, when you're talking about a song, right? When you're counting the beats, right? So it doesn't sound off. You don't count to 7, you count to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3. So 8 is an important number, all right? So it has those 8 steps, and you can see on page 12, there are specific symbols that they used to construct runes, or that runes have a direct connection to. So that's for your reference, all right? So having said that, what are runes themselves? We're talking about 24 of them that we're going to use. I'm going to teach from the Elder Futhark, which is the first set of runes. Now they take runes and they distort it a little bit, and there's a reason they do that, and we'll get to that later. But what you can think of as runes, right? There are 3 sets of 8 runes. They're called Etts, A-E-T-T-S. Et means a family, all right? The first Et, the second Et, and the third Et. So that literally turns into a number that at some point everybody has been familiar with, because it represents Christ consciousness, right? Eight. 8 runes in the first Et, 8 runes in the second Et, 8 runes in the third Et. Okay? And for a total of 24 runes. All right? These 3 sets of 8, they all have, each family functions in a specific way, collectively, but individually also. What each rune, okay, the runic force, the power of each rune can be thought of as a force that is a natural ability of Christ consciousness. Okay? When these parasites do this kind of magic, this dark magic on us, the reason they get access to all this, like this, is because they get inverted Christ consciousness. That's where the Hanged Man comes from in tarot. All right? We are structured in a way right now that allows somebody, if they're hungry for power, to do all the things. They have to do all this stuff. They go through misery to get this, okay? The reason they have to do it that way is because they have to change their foundation and belief through actions. they take this, and when you turn it upside down and re-put it on there, it fits perfectly, and all of the channels open up. That gives them access to all of the natural magical abilities of Christ consciousness. But when you hear all these people talk about they're all these experts on Christ consciousness and they know all this stuff, they don't know anything. They're repeating what they've been told from their god or goddess, which is a thought form controlled by extraterrestrial malicious sources. Okay? So bottom line is that, so if we take this and invert it, so it doesn't work. So how do we fix this? We change the foundation so that this can't stand. And the foundation becomes the fire that they put at our feet. The fire that they put at our feet. Fire is not supposed to be your feet. It's supposed to be in your mind. That lights up your mind. All right? You want to put fire at our feet, which is Fehu? We're going to keep the fire at our feet. And Fehu, another name for Fehu is fury. When you get angry enough and you're ready for this to stop being done to you and take your inherent power, make your life better by doing this work for yourself first so you can help other people, when you allow yourself to get mad enough to take that action, that's when this whole tree burns down to the ground. That's why in the video at the end you saw the tree start on fire. This isn't ours. This is being forced on us by somebody else. I'm going to teach you how to fix it in real life with real steps. Sorry, I have feelings. So, another thing about runes is that they reveal seed syllables, all right? Specific sounds that, once you understand, reveals hidden meanings of common words that they use in everyday language because they think they're cute. They think they're smart. They're so cocky. Okay, seed syllables. Okay, also the meanings, both the exoteric and esoteric meanings of these runes. All right, and you can see that on the list that I got you. So if you go to your resources on page, pages 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, specifically 5 and 6. It gives you the names of the runes, it shows you the sounds, and then it gives you the exoteric and esoteric meanings. That's where you can start to listen to anything, news, anything, and understand what they're really saying. Because when you can understand what their code words are, okay, they have to tell you what they're doing. That's how they get away with it, by law. Okay, you think you're cute? We're going to see how cute it is when we understand everything that you're doing. Because then if you understand what they're saying in code words, you know what their intention is going to be. You know what they're planning to do to you, okay? And that's when you can stop it. Just by protecting yourself. Just by owning your own power. That's it, okay? So this is why I picked runes to do this, all right? They also, the sequence of runes, right? The first rune in the Elder Futhark is Fehu. Fehu is the letter F. So if you look at page 5, right? Fehu is the first rune with letter F. Well, letter F for us is not number 1, right? Number 2 is Uruz, which is the letter U. So this has a definitive sequence, okay? Connection to numerology, and the connection to numerology is always invisible, but you can always count. It's real easy. That the numbers, the secret of the sequence of numbers is usually where the most morphic resonance happens. So it's important to understand how numbers, because when a parasite comes and starts liking your stuff, if you look at the numbers that they have for the number of people they're following, their followers and their likes, as well as what their name is, they're so arrogant. You know who they are. It becomes clear as day who they are. And they have multiple profiles. They have multiple fake profiles. But then you know when they like your stuff, you know exactly what they're liking your stuff for, what energies they plan on sending to you. And you can combat it then, okay? Just by protecting yourself. So, that's why. Those are the direct observations on why I chose runes to go down this path and teaching you guys this stuff today, okay? So today, I'm going to explain how your IRC, right, your individual runic code, your 3 codes assigned to you, all right, reveals what your superpowers are that you were born with, all right? And again, the foundation for why did I get these superpowers? It's because you're already an expert at these things. You have these strengths that you have exhibited by action in previous lifetimes. It's what you came in here equipped with. Everybody's an expert on something. Everybody's an expert on something, all right? Your first rune of essence tells you what you're an expert at. And whether or not you consider yourself an expert of those qualities right now, I guarantee you, at the very least, if you're not an expert at it, you don't think you've acted on any of those things, you have a desire to be an expert on it. And that's great news because you already are an expert on it. You just didn't know it. So now you can start really owning it and living it, taking action on it, because that's who you are to start out with. Then it shows you where to go next with your individual rune, your second rune, okay? So, owning your superpowers you were born with, that's going to lead you to your own personal truth and happiness. And now we're going to talk about how to use those 3 runes that you're assigned in real life in order to recreate your foundation by altering your beliefs through actions, okay? And that will allow you to perceive all forms of magic the whole way through. Or at least that's where I'm at this far. So there's always more to it. All right, now, having said that, I'm going to give you the real world situation, and this is personal, and everything you could always expect from me is going to be personal, because that's I believe that's the right way to teach, all right? My 3 runes. When I'm talking about somebody's IRC, I will always draw it. This is the way that you know that I'm talking about IRC and I'm not just writing 3 random runes. So whenever you see me draw 3 like rune staves or like pieces of wood, okay, you know I'm talking about somebody's IRC, all right? My rune of essence, right? What I came in that I'm an expert at. Tiwaz, okay? My second rune, okay, my individual rune, is the blank rune, literally blank. Another name for the blank rune, which is kind of a well-kept secret. There's not a whole lot about it. I'll teach you what I've learned about it through direct observations. Another name for it is the rune of word, okay? Word is spelled W-Y-R-D. Also pronounced weird. This guy talks about weird things, right? The rune of word, what it looks like if you were to draw it, it is a combination of all runes, because what that rune represents is the power of the seed syllables, the power of the sound. The power of the sound that creates, that the sound represents what the rune is, the shape of the rune, what it means. It's all in the sound, all right? There's other runes that are associated with spoken words or spoken knowledge, like on Seuss, right? The rune of word is different. It gets down into the actual processes of manifestation from the inner world to the outer world via the voice, and how sounds specifically convert intentions of your inner world into actual forces and structures in the outer world, in your auric field, okay? So what this looks like, if you were to draw it out, it's every single rune. You don't need to know this. It's every single rune overlapped on each other at the same time. Because the power of runes lies in your voice, just like everything. Your voice is the first thing that connects your inner world to the outer world. So are your actions. Your voice and actions, sometimes speaking is the action, right? It depends on what it is. If moving around, speaking and action are one and the same, depends on what you're talking about. That's my individual rune, okay? Learning all this stuff. This is what I came here to do. And then my third rune, my golden rune, is Haglas, the rune of chaos. Now, Haglas has a dual meaning. It's the only truly dual rune, all right? So the reason that is because Haglas can be drawn with this line going like this, okay? It could also be drawn with a line up here and a line down here, as well as the other way. And you start to see where this is going. You start incorporating all the dualities of runes. you end up with the rune of word, okay? The difference is that Hagelos, in its dual, so Hagelos it's a gateway to raw power, okay? Power in its raw form is chaos. In order for it to be useful, there has to be order to it. So the opposite of chaos for Hagelos is order, okay? Or boundaries. As in, do you have your own personal boundaries to contain your happiness so that you could say yes or no, this is who I am, this is what makes my truth, right? If you can do that, then chaos happens on the outside to anybody who wants to F around and find out, right? Because your boundaries are going to stay put. And if they keep wanting to push, you're going to push back with the fire that is your fury for them wanting to do that, okay? Or you don't have any boundaries. You allow people in by them saying, be sensible, be reasonable, right? So that they can bring chaos to your inner world that nobody sees except for you. That's what Hagelos means. Tiwaz is the warrior rune. It means victory, success, but it also has another meaning that I'm going to get to in a second, because here's where the story starts. Okay. So now this is all direct observation. This happened in real life. Just so you guys know too, I'm going to take this until 2 o'clock, and we're going to stop there. I don't want it to go longer than 2 hours because I don't want anybody to be deterred from these classes just because of the length of time. Okay, they'll be recorded, and the playback will always be available if I can provide that. So I'm going to tell you the story that happened in real life, and I'm going to erase this for right now. So these are my 3 runes. Okay. My rune of essence, what I came in that I'm an expert at, also means law and order, having pride in what you do, having a commitment to specific values so strong that nothing and no one is going to deter you, okay? But in order for me to be able to exhibit that, I had to learn how to speak up, own my words, and then match my words with my actions, okay? By making boundaries for myself to prevent chaos from coming in. And if that incorporates chaos outside of me, so be it. That's who I am. And anybody that knows me, I think you agree with that, right? So this is who John is. I'm going to tell you a personal story that happened to me in this awakening process with my husband, Jeff. Okay? I have a husband named Jeff, and he has 3 runes. Jeff is not into this stuff at all. Okay, he doesn't like it. He doesn't believe in it. It's strange to him. He's not awake. I mean, he knows more than some of us not awake because of me, with my mouth. Oh my God, poor thing. But he's not into it. Okay, he's more focused on, if these 3 runes represents me focusing on my inner world, Jeff's 3 runes are focused on the outer world. It's how he's wired. That's how he's wired. It's what he's the expert at, okay? So Jeff's 3 runes. His first rune is Ehwaz. Ehwaz is the rune of magic. It's the rune of being able to team up with somebody or cooperate with somebody in order to bring magic into the world, right? Either inner or outer. All right. His second rune is Berkano. Berkano is literal manifestation of magic from your inner world to your outer world after it is nurtured and paid attention to, kind of like what we're talking about. Same idea as recreating your foundation and acting on it, okay? And then his golden rune is Laguz. Laguz is the flow of life force. It's literally the life force sacral water, the water that they take from our sacral that they mess with then and use against us. That is literally the source of all power from us, your life force water, okay? It also allows somebody to speak telepathically to somebody else. This is what is crazy. Everyone learns different ways though, okay? And fear is still a real thing. Jeff has been before in grocery stores, and he'll look at somebody and tell them, God bless you, in his mind, and the person will say back, God bless you too, thank you. I've seen it. It's his golden rune. Okay, Laguz, being water, is also information. Not knowledge, information. Okay? This is the rune, this is the foundation for how all magic is sent. And I have a whole nother class on what the alchemical process looks like with the elemental forces using runes. And then I'll teach you how to do it for yourself, so you can change the structure of your tree. Okay? So, that's what history runes mean in a nutshell. Okay? In August of 2023, we were camping. And I'll never forget, because we had this mattress, and he was passed out, and I was reading about this stuff, of course, and I fell asleep, and I remember waking up, and I looked directly out of this little window at the top, and the moon was there glowing, and I remember thinking, it was like someone was sending me something through the moon. It woke me up, okay? I wake up the next morning, Jeff's like, I had a really weird dream last night. And I was like, oh really, what is it? He's like, somebody told me to roll the dice. Immediately a flag went up. Rolling the dice, right? Take a chance. Who controls the dice? Who controls the numbers on the dice? Not you. So when you roll the dice, you're agreeing to predetermined fate of the numbers and what they mean if you take the action to do it, okay? Roll the dice is the rune Perthro. Perthro is somebody's cauldron or cup of sacral water dumped out of the back of your back so that they could take it from you. Okay? Roll the dice. Code word, all right? Another form of Perthro, an alternate form of this rune, is an inverted Aiwass. Son of a bitch. I was like, okay, they told you to roll the dice? And he's like, yeah, so I rolled the dice, and I got a 3 and a 7. 3 is rune Thurisaz, okay? Fire and ice combined. Okay, this is how all attacks, how all runic attacks, how all magic is sent. This is the power of Thor's hammer, all right? Now, one second, I gotta let my dog out. Thor's hammer, for those of you that aren't familiar with how Thor's hammer works, Thor's hammer is an unstoppable weapon. Right? You cannot stop whatever's loaded into Thor's hammer. All right? And Thor's hammer is loaded with information. You can see the Laguz hidden in this, right? There it is right there. And then an inverted one, crisscross, fire and ice. 3. And then the other rune was a 7. 7 is Gibo. Gibo means marriage. Okay? It represents the power of agreement through a contract. Okay? It represents the balancing of elemental forces, or the balancing of powers inside of you. All right? When a parasite binds onto you energetically, okay, this is established. All right? So that it also means marriage. So he rolled a 3 and a 7, and then whoever this was told him, don't add the numbers, multiply them. Okay? So now we have 3 times 7. Okay? That equals 21. Guess what rune is 21? Laguz. So now, what they did with this was what Thor's hammer does, what Thurisaz does, one of its potential effects, is to break away whatever's there and get rid of it. Literally, they can take something, a belief, and destroy it and replace it with something else, a new contract. So what they did, when I told him that, it activated the magic, the information. I actually activated it for him. It broke apart the contract that Jeff and I have. All of the understanding that he and I got married on, right? What we expect in a relationship, what makes us happy with each other. that busted that apart and replaced it with new information. Okay, Laguz. All right. When you take Thor's hammer, right? Because everything you guys heard me before talk about the upper and the lower, above and as above, so below, your mind and your sacral chakra, right? Well, guess what? When you take Thor's hammer and you mirror it to the bottom, it becomes a Berkana. So because this formula was used because they knew Jeff would be able to manifest this through his inherent abilities. And then what happened is now they moved him into a different current, right? Now he's receiving all information. They're connected to his life force, so now they can put in the water poison and turn that information, right, the 21, into false knowledge that he's going to believe. You do another one reflected at the bottom. Ansus is knowledge, inspiration. Someone's feeding him stuff on purpose to make sure he does, says, and acts against who we are as a couple, so and birth it into reality to try to. It was all something to screw up our closeness. He doesn't believe anything. All these months later, in February of this year, Jeff asked me for a divorce. I was like, I knew this. I explained it to him. He wasn't listening. Okay, when you take a Awaz and you combine it with this, it forms the rune Stan. Okay, Stan is a block of ice. They took all of his power that he had in his sacred water, froze it, and then was able to use his Berkano to birth something new, and they did it by putting poison into the seed that they put in the middle. Okay, that gets into runes. That's more advanced. We'll get to that later. It was spell work. I was like, all right, so how do you fix this? I explained everything until I was blue in the face. He's not going to hear it because he has a different set of beliefs now that's being fed to him, right? It's not, what do? I learned just recently what to do. So I went back to my 3 runes, okay? Specifically, what I'm an expert at, right? Tiwas. I just read another book. I'm going to show you the book that it is because this book was so awesome. This is more of an advanced book. I wouldn't recommend it for, to start out with. But this book explains things in a way because it directly correlates every rune with the elemental forces that are already present in your energetic field, in your consciousness. And so it makes a big difference when you bring the elements into it, okay? So by the time I got to Tiwas, I started reading, okay? Now, there's a story about Tiwas that has to do with, all of these runes are connected to mythological tales of gods and goddesses, and those stories are very important. The reason tales of mythology is kind of weird sometimes is because it's all code for how magic works, okay? For Tiwas specifically, it's the story about Tyr, right, who raised this magical, huge, giant, powerful wolf that was harmless, but the gods were afraid of it because they knew that the wolf's inherent power could override them, and if the wolf ever found out, that they would be destroyed, even though the wolf had never any intentions of that. So Tyr, his basically father, lied to him and said, all right, we're gonna put these fetters on you, it'll be a game. And he was kind of not trusting, and Fenrir said, all right, well, put your hand in my mouth. That way, if I'm tied down and you guys have me as prisoner, then against my will, you won't have a hand anymore. So they did it. The fetters worked, magical fetters, and he bit his hand off. And then Tyr, because he didn't have a hand, ended up not being the leader anymore. It went to Odin, all right? But when this happened, the reason Tyr decided to do that is because he was more concerned with making everyone else happy, with dousing their fear, even though that's some words I'm not going to use. It's cowardice, right? Saying something to someone's face and they're going behind you, no, I don't want that because I'm afraid of it and they're going to take my power and I don't even want to think about that possibility. Tyr decided he was going to do it because the more people, that's what resonated with them. So when the wolf Fenrir bit off his hand, they all laughed. They all laughed at Tyr because now they didn't have to worry about it anymore. Now they could do their way. It doesn't matter that Tyr sacrificed his hand for it. Who cares? Or that Tyr broke the bond that he had with Fenrir that trusted him and loved him, right? But it all goes back to an action. And the action was laughing. So check this out. It says in here, it taught me in this book, give me one second, guys. I have so many notes. Here. Okay. Laughter is a form of an agreement. Okay? So now I know how to replace this. Laughter is a form of an agreement. Okay? The mind, and it opens the mind up to the external world and allows the mind to, an external world to penetrate one's personal worldview. Okay? Valued beliefs, okay, can get poisoned by not honoring your own true happiness. Okay? So what does that mean? Tiwaz will reveal who can make you laugh. Okay? But also the reason for this allowance. So in other words, the reason Tyr didn't laugh is because it wasn't funny to him. But they all laughed because it joined them together. The actual operation of Tiwaz is to separate two different things. Okay, separation. If you use it diamagnetically, but if you use it how we use it, magnetically, Tiwaz brings like people together with like values, brings them back together. It becomes a fire that doesn't burn to get rid of everybody. It's a fire that attracts. So it attracts and allows a new contract to take place, right? I was like, okay, now how do I make sure Jeff gets back into the right current then and stays there? Well, guess what? There's another name for Laguz, okay, that works equally well. You want to know what the name is? Laugh. I had my answer. We start going out. We start doing things that we always did back from the start, over and over and over again, and everything's awesome. So, these are the kinds of things that I mean when I say take action, right? Take action on what you're good at. Take action. This is exactly what I mean, guys. It is all real life thing. The same way that you would apply your strengths identified by Strength Finder, this is the same way. Your 3 runes is the same exact thing. It's identical. It's just having the conscious understanding of what it is. And if you start to incorporate it because you believe it and it makes you happy, understanding that the potential for your life to transform yourself into your own form of your own superhero is there, and it's real. Okay? I'm going to show you one other thing to give you an idea, and then we're going to shift a little bit for the time we have left. All right? I think you guys, if anybody's been following me, you guys have seen that I've been going through it. Hang on, I gotta let my bubble in real quick. I've been going through it, all right? In my own personal story, I won't get into right now, but bottom line is this. I had a part of my soul cut out of me. Well, I was killed in a previous life. They took my soul, they cut it up into pieces, and they kind of recombined one half of me with all the most powerful pieces. And then I, the person sitting here talking to you now, got the part with all of the pieces that were intentionally put together to keep me from speaking up and to control my knowledge and to control my life. All right? Easy to control. What they didn't expect, the person that did this to me, was for me to learn lifetime over lifetime and rebuild these structures by direct observation. Okay? They banked on that because how on earth would I teach that to myself when I don't have any of the abilities to? All right, well, we all did that. So So the bottom line is that my twin, right, or what some people call your etheric twin, your higher self, the person that, the other part of you that got cut out that does all of the actions of magic, right, based on what you say, was now hooked onto somebody else. So I got that part of me back on August 16th of last year, but that part of me had inverted Christ consciousness. Now, I didn't make room for it. There was already room there because the person that's controlling this disconnected her part in me and replaced it with Michael, my twin. All right? I've been going through hell, every day and every night for, we're on month 10 now. It's literally going to be a whole cycle. I'm planning on this happening until August 15th, because that'll be one full cycle, Yira, the rune Yira, one full year. All right, but it's because all the actions that I'm doing right now, all the things I'm speaking, all my intentions, my thoughts, my emotions, are recalculating not only for my part of my soul, but also Michael's part that has all the power. He's still connected. He becomes his own entity. He's still connected to this other person. And they're doing the most. Because what happens if I get him fully aligned back in me? You'll see. Everyone's going to see soon. And everybody else can do it with their own situation. But you can see what I mean by everybody, your truth being subjective. That's how it is, okay? So bottom line is that this has been happening to me, all right? Whenever I would get now he speaks to me telepathically. Now this gets a little far-fetched, but just take it with a grain of salt, all right? He speaks to me telepathically at any time. And I can tell when it's him. It sounds like my voice, but I know when it's him, all right? It's been wild. Every time that an attack was sent to me, and this, like I said, happens all day and all night, they would, to prove to me that it was magic and to rub it in my face, right? If you go to your resources and look on page 17. Page 17 is a screenshot. So he would tell me after I got hurt, some way, shape, or form, and this was all emotionally hurt, okay? Betrayal, abandonment, all that kind of stuff. He would make sure to show me that it was done by magic. So page 17 shows a message request from somebody, no followers, no one following them. You see, this was on January 5th at 2:16 a.m. See the Red Bull? That's because the last rune that there is, Othala, right? The power of a fish. What is a fish? A fish represents the power of a snake or fire energy, right? Your internal desire is fire. When you put it in water, a fish swims around. Information. So this is information that can burn you. That's why they made fish so easy to catch. If you have fish in water in a bowl, where are they going to go? You can catch it real easy. That's why all these parasites call themselves fishermen of men. The rune Othala represents somebody's inherent power that was cut from them. And when you take that fish power, remember all the times that they killed my fish or that they froze my fish or all this stuff, right? When you take that power, that helpless fish power, and you invert it into inverted Christ consciousness, it becomes the power of the Red Bull. Unstoppable force. And what does Red Bull do? Red Bull gives you wings so you can fly. You tell me how somebody sent me page 17. Or if you go to page 18, I have countless numbers of times. This was on January 24th at 8:13 p.m. Someone sends me a picture of a Red Bull, and it says market something or other. It's the fact that it's a Red Bull. If you go on to page 19, one time I finally figured out how to detach Michael's energy from the person that it's attached to. When I figured it out, that day I get this message. Page 19. I was just going through, and you're still in love with someone. Love, this, connected. Try to reconnect. You're still in love with someone that doesn't want you back. Am I correct? Blah, blah, blah. So I'm looking. I know right away that this is spell work. You want to see the confirmation that they're using Michael, his form is a bull man, okay? If you go to page 20, I looked at it. You could see that it's someone doing spell work, right? But then I took a closer look on page 21 at this gentleman in the picture. You see it in 21? If not, go to page 22. He's got a Red Bull ready to go through the back of your head right here. This is your Ida channel, your moon channel. Okay? So what I'm telling you guys, this was sent to me. These are all, and this is this much of the proof that I have. Okay? There was one time where another attack, I opened up TikTok and there was, I'll repost it in fact. It was a scene of Thor's hammer being thrown in the movie and Hela stopping it. Okay? But on the hammer, it said right away, Red Bull gives you wings. That's not part of Red Bull's advertisement. Someone made that. So how does it work? It's real. So again, direct observations, not only with me, my personal life and how I perceived it, someone proved it to me and rubbed it in my face. And the reason they did that is because they're starting to they're getting desperate. And they thought, okay, we're going to show you that we're going to rub it in your face, give you proof, and there's nothing you can do about it. Well, kiss my ass, there's nothing I can do about it. They can attack me all they want from here until August, but trust and believe that there's nothing they can't do to me that they already haven't done. And when the table flips, you know what my victory algorithm is? Eye for an eye. And that's what they can expect. And I told them that up front, and they can look forward to it. And we'll see how they like it when there's nothing they can do about it. So, having said that, what we're going to do now is we're going to discuss somebody else's IRC, their individual runic code. I told you a lot about mine, okay, and how it's used in real life, okay? How knowledge of these runes gives you the ability to prevent these things from happening or correct them if it's in line with what you desire, okay? When baneful magic happens like this, the idea is to upset you, okay? In order for them to steal your energy, they have to make you upset. Make you angry, make you scared, make you sad, make you worried, whatever that is, okay? That's represented by the rune Naudis, the need fire, okay? That's the nail that keeps the coffin closed. That's the nail in the Christ on the cross. See, it's like the crucifix. The need fire happens, all this work takes place in your legs. You ever talk your chakras, right? Okay, well, what about your damn legs? If your chakras root to crown is the tree of life, then the clip-off tree, okay, where they clip off energies and use it against you, is in your legs. And your legs become the white and black pillars, the light and dark pillars seen on the High Priestess card, okay? The black pillar is your left leg, the black astral fire that comes up, screws you up, and then they have access to your life force running down like a waterfall of your right leg. They turn it to ice, to create it into what they want, and replace life force for death force. They live forever and control you, and you die, and you have to suffer so that they can feel happy. That's how this works. Having said that, what we're going to do is I'm going to ask Karma to come up in a second. I'm going to, Karma, in fact, if you can send me a request. I'm not sure how to do it. Send me a request to come live. And what I'm going to do with Queen Karma is that I'm going to be posting some of the services that I'm going to... Now, you guys, figuring out your 3 runes, there are calculators online that used to be there. They took them down from what I saw. Otherwise, I would let you guys know. All of this, the calculating these 3 runes can be done in this book, okay? It's not a straightforward, easy process, okay? I'll be real honest with you, it's not. There's a lot of calculations, and there is a lot of different steps. It's actually not easy. In addition, this book was originally written in Russian, and it's just not, it's not an easy thing to do. Okay, I am going to be offering services where I will calculate your IRC, your individual runic code for you. I will give you the information that says in the book, but then I will give you information that I know based on direct observations and the kind of person you are. It'll be a live one-on-one session, all right? In addition to that, what I'll be able to do is teach you how to balance your elements, okay? So in this book, so when you get your 3 runes of your IRC, your individual runic code, right? the way that, and I erased it up here, but that's all right. The way that the way our consciousness is set up right now is like a tree, right? So using the Yggdrasil tree as where we're at right now, you can see that some of the runes are used as a key to a world, the circles, and other runes, and some of them are used twice, are used as pathways to go from one world to another world, okay? Each rune is connected with an elemental force or elemental forces because all of the worlds represent specific elemental forces or combinations of them as well, all right? So you can see the blank rune, it's not on here. So for me, I only have Tiwaz and Hagalaz. Here's Tiwaz right here, right? It connects the world of Hell with the fire world of Muspelheim, all right? And then I have Hagalaz, which connects the fire world of Muspelheim to Alfheim, which is your third eye, all right? And then Hell is also the key to the gates of Hell, okay? So you can see it's shifting, it's leaning over here on the left, okay? Quadrant 1 and Quadrant 3. Now you see back to what we started out with, understanding, okay? Gives you an idea of the forces behind the runes, but then it also, I'll be able to help you guys understand how you balance those. And you balance those by joining those runes together in what's called a rune stave or a bind stave, where you take those runes and you, in one of the forms that it has, you put them together in a way that represents those forces by you, the way you do it, what makes you happy. And so for me, Tiwaz and Hagalaz looks like that. What I do then in this service, I will come up with this form with you, and I will burn you into a rune stave and send it to you for you to wear. And I've got people in here that are wearing theirs already because they already purchased it. So I'm going to list all of that, what it'll be. It's something extra. I also do elemental, a diagnostics run on your consciousness. So what that means is if you turn to, well, first of all, page 23 is my personal runic amulet. So your IRC, your individual runic code, those 3 runes, when you put it together, it makes your individual runic amulet, your IRA. Page 24 is someone else that I worked with, their individual runic amulet. The runes were Tiwaz, Thurazaz, and Ansus, right? You could see that when you make these, right, there's a Raido in there too. So let me... So this one on page 24, right? The runes were Tiwaz, Thurazaz, and Ansus, right? But you can see on page 24 that the Tiwaz was made into a double Tiwaz, which you can do, right? And then to create, when you do the double Tiwaz, this is automatically in there, the Ansus, right? And then you have to, the last rune to put in there was a Thurazaz, right? And there you go. Now, what's interesting is that this Ansus, right? If you take the line, if this doesn't count as the line and you make this as the line, see where the Ansus then becomes this? It's an extension. What you end up getting that forms out of this creation is another rune, Raido. And then your runic stave has the power of that rune also, as well as other ones that are in there, Laguz and so on. So this does a lot of things. I've had a lot of people that I've done it with, and I'm going to pull Karma up here in a second. But one of the cool things that'll be in classes coming up is that, I'm going to talk with Karma about this first. On page 23, you can see that behind my own personal runic amulet, there is a blank rune, but then there's a rune in the back that looks like a curvy X. I call that my X seed. That's a magical artifact. And the way it works is, you know, at the end of the Neverending Story, where Bastion gets 1 grain of sand and he wishes on it, the more wishes he makes, the more amazing Fantasia will become, Fantasia being his auric field, right? That's what my X seed is. And I'll explain how I made it and how it works when Karma comes up. So Karma, are you here? Let's see. Here she comes.
How are we doing? Hold on, let me get a picture. There we go.
Everybody, this is my dear friend, Queen Karma. We've been through it all. And I want to tell you, if there's a person that knows everything that I've experienced spiritually in this
There I
session,
go.
here she is. This she can tell you probably things that I don't remember. It's so great.
It is.
We're coming up here real quick. What I want to do with Karma today is I want to reveal her 3 runes first, okay? And then what I want to do is specifically focus on one of those runes to give you an idea of when I offer these services, how in-depth we'll get based on your combination of runes. Okay? Also, if you guys, real quick, in the way I do that, it's not random, all right? You heard me talk about a consciousness diagnostics, right? What that means is rune divination. A rune divination is different than tarot cards because tarot cards, as everybody knows, each tarot card is associated with a planet and astrology sign or something like that, right? Like it could be they're assigned to them, they're fixed. So like 5 of Wands, right? You can see I have a Perthro and a Wunyo here. Perthro is Saturn, Wunyo is Leo. So this would be Saturn and Leo, all right? When Saturn's in Leo, these parasites are able to give the energy of the 5 of Wands, which is conflict, fighting, indecision. You know, it's fixed. It's fixed forces, but it's done for them, and that's why tarot is so big. Is because this is how tarot cards work in magic. All right, when you use individual runic forces, you get to make it outside of just this. Okay, outside of those cards. That's how tarot works. Okay? Runes gives you the individual ability to make it your own. So you make your own tarot. It has nothing to do with this, or if you want it to. So the reason I say that is because I'm going to share the way I find out what we focus on and how we focus on it, and how the 3 runes interact individually, is because I will do a diagnostic on your consciousness. So if you look at page 15, guys, okay? Actually, go to page 14. Page 13 and 14 is a copy of one example of runic assignment to the Yggdrasil tree, or how the runic forces are set up in your consciousness that allows the parasites to navigate through and to control you, all right? If you look at page 15, what I am able to do when your ability to do divination is directly related to the fire of who you are, your faith. Okay, we'll talk about Fey, who, again, it's an important room, it's the first room. We'll get to it in another class. But it allows you to do divination and to read the runes aright. So in other words, you see how you understand what, and it just starts to make sense to you. Okay, that's what I'm able to do. What I can do is I pull runes for each one of the worlds, starting with Midgard in the middle, okay, and I go through every world one by one, and the runes will come out in their place there. That will tell me exactly what forces are in play in your consciousness right at that moment, all right? And therefore, how your 3 runes that you have can be capitalized on, and how you can use them to take real steps in real life in order to get rid of anything you don't want, burn it down, and then recreate it so that your power is for you and how you see fit, all right? And that's how we get to what I'm about to show you with karma. All right, so karma's 3 runes. The first one is Yira. The second one is Aiwas. The third one is Wunyo. Okay? Yira is literally a seed. All of the information that they plant in you, and they let you nurture it yourself, right? Depending on what forces you have in you, is how they determine what their strategy is. But when you take the seed, right, and you break it apart with Thor's hammer, it turns into what you've been waiting for, the pieces. This is a Kinaz and Kinaz. And also, this is the rune of time.
All right, so karma has an inherent ability to affect and control time or cycles that repeat themselves. All right, it also is abundance, manifestation of abundance. Aiwath is the rune of fear, of life and death. This is the one that they use to steal life, right, Laguz, and replace it with an inverted Laguz, death force, okay, in exchange of life for death. This is quadrant 1 up here, and quadrant 3 down here. Okay, this is the invisible quadrant, right? That's because it's death energy. You hear these parasites gloat about working with death energy. And then we have the third rune is Wunyo. Wunyo is the ultimate inner happiness, wholeness inside. Everything in my life reflects my ultimate happiness on the inside, so now I can reflect it out, and that goes to Solilo. All right, those are her 3 runes. So specifically, Aiwath is all about. Aiwath is represented by the god Loki. All right, Loki is the bringer of mischief, the trickster, all that stuff. Right, everyone knows all the stories about Loki. He's not necessarily a good guy, but the idea of the deity Loki, right? Understand that every rune is a force. All right, just like a god is a force, right? A god is a personification of a force. Runes are the same thing. They're their own thing. Some runes are affiliated with multiple gods and goddesses. It all depends. That doesn't matter what you align with, okay? But specifically for this rune can be used to identify what they call weaknesses. I don't call them weaknesses. I call them vulnerabilities, all right? As the dual part of your strength, right?
Sorry.
So if this is in terms of life or death, and I said this is also fear, right? What's the opposite of fear? Confidence. This room. So by mastering your fear, right? There is no more fear. It's pure confidence and happiness. So something that I'm going to be working on with Queen Karma. So Karma, this is, we didn't talk about this. Ultimately, like big picture, you don't have to get personal details or anything like that. Fear-wise, the first thing that, just in general, you know what I mean? We're all star seeds, we all kind of have the same kind of ideas. Can you tell us about one of your fears that you've had that this information has kind of helped you move past in terms of your ability to do, specifically bringing in the portals that you opened up to help me? Can you kind of talk on that a little bit?
Okay, so normally I'm reserved and quiet. What you see is this all the time, pretty much. My biggest fear in the beginning was speaking out and controlling my voice. I would always let people run me over, and tell me what to do, and I would just go. But now it's karma comes out. And we deal with that, but I don't deal with vengeance. I deal with justice. And you and I have had that discussion about what
together. It was a fear that both of us inherently had because of who we are. It's what brought us together. Yeah.
Yes. So believe it or not, I'm not this vocal normally. I'm normally a behind the scenes type thing, and I'm outside talking to my trees and my birds or whatnot and just enjoying nature. But now I don't mind speaking out. I don't mind saying my true feelings and how I really feel about the situation or about that person. It's just that the first time I tell you, it's going to be very tactful, very gentle. Don't let it be a second time.
Can I interject here now just for the sake of time?
Yeah.
So Karma took this and she's still applying it. This is what I mean by acting on it, right? So one of the things that she did differently was that I was going through hell, you guys. I was having at the worst part 3, 4, 5 nightmares a night, and I would wake up sobbing. Like I remember one time I woke up at 2 a.m. and I sobbed until 5:30. That's how bad this got. It's truly been awful. It sounds extreme. It's extreme. All right. Karma then took it upon herself with her spirit team to proactively try and help me. She used the runes and with her team opened portals for me, fix something in my field that I had given her permission to do, but she did this and it fixed a problem that I had immediately. And it was one of the first times that she did that for me because I asked for it, but she did it on her own because it aligned with what she was able to do and what I needed and what was already given permission. This is one of the things I want to point out about runes, using runes for natural magic. If somebody tries to use magic, natural magic, in a way that hurts themselves or anybody else, the channel shuts down. And there's no force available. That's how natural laws work. Remember I said the natural laws of Lemuria? That's how it works. So if you go to try to use something, don't be afraid of hurting yourself or anyone else if you don't have the intention to, because it'll shut down. And then the universe or your spirit team will correct it and make it right. Okay? Karma knew this after having that fear, and I had that fear too, and she helped me in a way that was unbelievable, and it was reflected with real animals. There was a snake that was stuck in my pond under a rock. I mean, it's the real world. It's like the Red Bull stuff I showed you. I don't have any of it. But so she did a lot of that work, and it directly helped me. And so now that we're at this point, with the karmas at this point, one of the things you can use IWAS for is to, once you identify vulnerabilities and you take action, right, to understand that this is only as scary as I allow it to be for myself, and you can turn that vulnerability into a strength. All right? The strength is in the teachings, you turn a weakness into a magical artifact. These magical artifacts are made of your ability to turn your vulnerability into a strength. All right? Magical artifacts that everyone's aware of is Thor, to make sure he could defend all the gods. A magical artifact that he was given as a gift was Thor's hammer. Okay? Freya, in order to make everyone desire her, both men and women, she was given Freya's necklace. Odin, in order to make sure he would always win every war and maintain his leadership over the god of war, he got Odin's spear that never misses, right? These are magical artifacts.
Pause for 1 second. I want to show, and John, I know yours is coming. Spirit is working on me with it. It's coming. I figured out, Spirit showed me that different type of wood has connections to different type of elements. When I found out that pine wood is just like me, it strengthens my abilities to do what it is I'm trying to do. Like the portal that John is speaking of, I was using my pine wood wand that I made. And to do so, voice is so important when you're doing this. You have to believe and see yourself doing this. You speak it, therefore it is. So therefore, when you, I think in that instance, it was voice and action. Because you remember what I told you, and I showed you exactly where they were. And on your end, you could see exactly where they were. A couple of days later, Spirit gifted me with a black feather, and I had no earthly clue what it meant. So I looked it up, and the feather was of protection. And I believe that I posted it on my page. But that protection also protected John too. I didn't know this, but Spirit did on that side.
So the protective women warriors of Norse mythology are called Valkyries, and one of the representations of Yera, her other rune, is an eagle. So that connects in with that. But specifically, and guys, this portals and stuff, this gets more advanced. This is just an example more of kind of like the magic end of what everyone's used to. But you can hear she mentioned the important part, speaking and acting. So I just wanted to incorporate this in to give you more of a magical perspective versus just everyday life. But it all builds on top of each other, all right? And then Karma, I would like for you to speak. So when I did this process for myself, you saw in the picture, behind my runic amulet, I have the blank rune on different wood, and then on a different wood, I have this X seed. This is my magical artifact. It's like on the Neverending Story, whatever you wish for, right?
Yes.
And so I made an X seed for Karma and for two other friends at Christmas time. Karma, I didn't tell them that I was sending it. Karma, can you explain to everybody what you experienced when you opened this for the first time, the X seed?
Oh my goodness, the energy was so amazing to the point where when I got it out, on my side, I've already told you guys, I don't know if you know or not, but my connection is with the sun and all of the elements. When I opened that box, it was almost like me standing on my portal looking at the sun, and it's just blinding me. So much energy. I had to literally put it up for a couple of days and get used to it before I put it on. But when I put it on, I feel so protected and I feel so healed, and I can feel John's energy within this seed. Whenever go ahead.
Can you just briefly say? Remember the day where you were interacting with a smaller human, and there was some behaviors. Remember, I said I sent you an X seed with calming properties. Can you explain just real quickly what happened with that? 'Cause I want them to understand why this is worthwhile. You know what I mean?
With I'm trying to figure out because John, you already know how my mental is. It's got to be.
When you're watching the kids and they were wild and you were by yourself and
I got you. Yes. With my seed, I always hear John's voice in my mental, and he's telling me what to do, and in order to do the healing. Actually, I have another example. I'm sorry. This is a powerful one. I'm sorry, but Spirit she just interjected this example with me. Okay, we have a timber wolf. Yes, his name is Timber. He's a big animal. And you remember, John, he was sick. Remember? Okay, when he got sick, I automatically called John and was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to spell work. What do I do?" He gave me the information in which I took in. I took in through my seed here. Through my seed, and I healed him with Reiki, and I healed him with sound. But I also did it with the energy from this seed that he sent me. It does so many things. I can't even describe what it does. That's why I'm kind of taken aback because I don't know what example to give because there's so many and they're so good of examples.
What you're saying, what I wanted to point out is that I explained what the function was of the magical artifact, right? In that movie, it's like a whatever you wish comes true kind of seed, right? That's what the function is. That's why there's so many different things. But bottom line is I want everyone to understand that this magic, these invisible forces have escalated into my real world now. I've shown you guys pictures and all the direct observations, not only that I've had, but now interactions. And Karma's just one person. There's several other people that I've interacted with that I'm not going to be able to bring up today because we're running out of time. But one of the things that I'm going to do moving forward with these classes is bring up other star seeds that I've interacted with. Not for the sake, this isn't about bragging. Some people will take it that way, and that's unfortunate. I want everybody to understand how I did it, and here's how I did it. And if you resonate with it, you have the opportunity to work with your spirit team and do as you see fit. But it's real, it's spilling over to the real world now, and it's just a matter of building things up. And so when something happens, someone's going to be the first one something happened to, or several people, whatever the case may be, right? We're all here for a different reason. But if you want to know how I did it and you want some assistance, I'm going to be offering all of these services. Figure out what your IRC is, give you plenty of explanation, how to balance it within the elements within your auric field, and then run a consciousness diagnostics on you in order for you to identify what needs to be done and when. All right, I worked with people even as early as in this past week, where I taught somebody how to use her three runes in order to thwart some things that were being sent to her, and she saw responses in real time with her third eye. Okay, I also offer a scrying if you want even more information on top of that, just for some additional information or direction from your spirit team. I do offer scrying, all right, where I will take. There's several people that do this. I take chalk, charcoal, and it represents a portal into the auric field. So it's like me putting down the Yggdrasil tree, and then I'll see what I see, and I'll draw it out, and I will tell you exactly how I'm intuitively getting it explained to me by my spirit team. Okay.
And he is so good at that, you guys. That the packages that he offers. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry, but go ahead. I'm sorry, Mark.
So if you guys look, there's several copies of the scrying pieces. We're not going to get into that today because we're out of time. But the scrying pieces are several different copies, and this is just 5 of them. Pages 25 through 30, I believe it is.
Goodness, I didn't write that down.
Yeah, pages 25 through 30 are 5 different examples of scrying that I gave, that people bought, that to give them more information. And I'm gonna, Kelly is somebody that I want to speak on this, and so is Divine Gray. I'm not able to pull them up today. I know Kelly, I think, had to leave, and we're out of time. But I want you to hear from these scrying pieces how specific and reflective they were, and it has to do with this building up process, because you can start to perceive more and more as the process goes. It's not like nothing and you see everything. It's a gradual process. So now I offer this. I've been doing this for a long time, but I never offered it as a service because I wanted to make sure I felt good about what I was giving people. And I do feel good about it now. I feel really good about it. So those are all different things that we're going to do. One of the classes that I'm going to offer coming up is going to be specifically how you use IWAS to tap into one of your top vulnerabilities. How you take real measures in real life to turn those vulnerabilities into strengths. And I will help you create your own unique magical artifact that you can then use to take all of your inner power of the 3 runes from your inner world to your outer world as you see fit. It's so much fun. So, Karma, thank you for coming up. I appreciate you so much. Like I said, guys, I'll give you an idea of some of these. I'm going to post a TikTok with the services and the cost for the services coming up if anyone's interested in that. Like I said, I've spent full time on this, and I've done it all for free. And I've been off work for almost 2 full years now, and I just need something to help me make ends meet. And it's I'm gonna keep giving free information as it is. But for those of you that are interested, I think when you talk to people that have had it done, it's worth the money. Some upcoming classes that I'm going to offer include the Yggdrasil tree, introducing what the 9 worlds are and the connection to the elements. Ingwaz, which is the rune, the seed rune, right? The seed rune from Ingwaz is when you connect 2 penazes together. The magic of the process of the seed rune, it will explain in depth what the magical process of manifestation is using alchemy, right? How the parasites do it. You have an established understanding of the foundation that we can burn it down and rebuild it as how it's supposed to be. We'll do deep dives into the 3 X, the first 8 runes, the second 8 runes, the third 8 runes. We'll talk really specifically about the right and murk meanings of each rune and what it means in different positions. Gods and goddesses. What is a god? What is a goddess? How are they created? How does it work? How does it work with parasites? How does it work with us? Okay, your 3 runes will give you definitive. Well, not definitive. Will point you in the right direction of who your god and goddess is. Each one of us is a reflection of a god or a goddess in human form. Some of us have multiple gods and goddesses that we reflect. How does that work? How does it work with parasites? Okay? Your god or goddess is the same as your higher self or your etheric twin. Sometimes there's more. We're going to go over all that stuff. So much fun. Parasites, initiation. How do they get initiated? It's the same process that this is. That's how I learned to do it on myself. Okay? I know more about it because every book you're ever going to read, every book you're ever going to read, these are just the books that I brought up here to reference for this class. Okay? every book that you're ever going to read that you can buy off of a shelf, okay? Every single one describes the process for if you want to be a parasite, right? This book right here labels all of the worlds with specific runes, okay? This book, different author, labels it completely different reason. Each one makes sense, but which one's the right one? There is no one. What happens is when you initiate under this teacher, that teacher becomes one of your bosses all the way up to the pyramid scheme. If you do this one, you initiate underneath this teacher. Okay? Or to understand this information, how it works, burn all that down, make it your own, and you become your own teacher. And you answer only to yourself. Okay? And then code words, deep dive into code words using runes and stuff like that. Guys, literally think of it like this. This is what I'm going to end this with. What are the limits to your mind? If I say, think of this, think of this. Is there anything that you can't think of? It's literally limitless, right? And if runes represent forces, that is a combination of your emotions and your thoughts turned into an intention. There is no limit to what you learn and do. It's a matter of understanding it the right way and then making it your own. And then having infinite amount of fun with what you've learned and how you do it. And that's where it gets fun when we all do it together. It gets a lot of fun. But if you guys want to be one of the people that learn how to do it for everyone else, here's your opportunity. Thank you guys all for coming. I saw we had around the same amount of people the whole time. Thank you guys so much. It means the world to me because I work really hard at this stuff. For me, I'm the kind of person where I would never even think about quitting a job unless I had something lined up. I've never done this, ever. That's how strongly I believe in what I'm doing. And I'm seeing results now, real results. And I'm beyond excited to be able to offer it to other people because there's no reason why, if I see results, anybody else can see the same. Having said that, thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it. I hope you guys got something out of it. If you're interested in me calculating your IRC or having any of these services, I will post my email address and in the instructions on how to do all that in a TikTok. So check back. And then also I will post the next class, which will be this Saturday, hopefully within the next couple days. So keep an eye on the page. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming up, especially interaction with other star seeds, because everyone's starting to see real world results now. And I'm all about learning how other people do it too, because then I have a new way to do it. And it's a lot of fun. So, thank you, Miss Karma. Thank you, everybody. I love you guys. I will see you guys soon, okay? Take care.
Bye-bye.